I got distracted thinking about Barbados. All right, here we
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Well, good morning to everyone. Thank you for joining us for Friday Tech Focus today. Eunice is here. This is a little bit of a departure from the norm of a Friday Tech Focus, but we get to learn about the tool Zotero today. Now, Zotero is something that I used back in grad school. Um, yeah, almost 15 years ago. So I'm really interested to see what changes have been made over the last few years and what fun stuff Eunice has found to do with it. So thank you, Eunice, for being here. Thanks, everyone, for joining us, and we'll get started.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. And as Sam said, this is not a new thing. You may have heard it before, maybe not. I think I used it about 20 years ago when I was doing reference work, which, is not generally what I try to do with Friday Tech Focus, but the name kept popping up lately. And it's like, well, maybe I should take a look at it again and see what they're doing differently. So Zotero is open source and developed by an independent nonprofit organization that, as they put it, has no financial interest in your private information. So, that's a good thing, right? Its aim is to help you manage bibliographic data and related research materials. Heavy emphasis here on research. So you'll see here, it's pretty easy to create an account. You fill out a simple form, it sends you an email to confirm your address, and you're in. It's primarily designed to run from an installation on your computer. It has versions for Mac, Windows, and Linux. Again, you all know that's not really my preference for Friday Tech Focus. In fact, I couldn't even install this on my work computer because of the way it's locked down. It is possible to install it somewhere else and then sync that to a web version where you can easily use an extension in your browser to add things to your space. That's what I wanted to test out. There are these connectors for Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Safari. There's also a version for iOS. An Android version is in the works, it's currently in beta. If you're interested in helping with testing that, I understand there are invitations to the beta available, but they're hard to come by. I did not try. I did put this on my iPhone and connected it to my account. Now, this isn't one of the new recent iPhones with a huge screen, so I thought it was a little small to do a lot with, but I think it would be really good on a tablet. So starting to use it, it works, but it was a little awkward at first. This resolved itself later on, and I'm not entirely sure why. But at first, I had to have Zotero running on the computer where I'd installed it, and then I could work with the web presence, and it would sync back and forth. It was a little weird, I know. And again, it's really intended to use as an installed thing. This is what the app looks like installed on a very old laptop that's still running Windows 10. Basic Windows interface, but it is kind of nice to know that it doesn't require lots of current bells and whistles and computer resources to function. This then is a view from the web version, very similar. This is just a quick look at the preferences available in the software. A couple of things I wanted to highlight. This is where you set up the synchronization with the web version. It is not automatic. You can't just log in to the installed version and the web version and have it happen. You have to tell it that you want them to synchronize. And then for someone doing scholarly research, the export and cite options are going to be very important. It's there that you'll set which citation style you want as a default, whether it's the Chicago Manual style or the American Chemical Society or whatever you need. There are many, many options. So for the students you may be recommending this to, this is going to be especially important. It's pretty easy to change it as needed for different courses with different preferences, but that default is nice. So those kids going off to college are going to be your main goal for this, as well as anything else you might want to do to help prepare them for life away from home for the first time, whether you're helping them with time management skills or how to cook for themselves when they go off. Telling them about a tool to help them organize their research and create a bibliography in the format that any given professor wants could be really helpful for them. So I came up with a project title and took Zotero for a spin. Nice title, right? It seemed to be something that I probably would have worked on back in the day if back in the day had included digital resources. I'm going to admit to you that I used ChatGPT to give me a starting list of resources because, I really didn't want to work that hard at that part of this. I just needed something to work with. But the old reference librarian in me feels obligated to point out that I can't actually vouch for these resources you might see while you're looking at this. So I looked up the items from my cheater list and used the connector in Chrome because I could do that on my work computer, which was rather interesting. It was fine with the connector, and saved them to Zotero. I put everything I found into a collection that I created for this project, whether it was a book, article, blog post, podcast, whatever. Zotero grabbed the info, including an abstract. These are all pretty short abstracts, but the abstracts on books tended to be much longer. I didn't happen to have any at this point, but there are a few extras for working with PDFs. Not only can you read them directly within the app, but you can also highlight and annotate them there so you can, make sure and circle things that you don't want to miss later on. It's also very easy to add your own notes directly to the record so that everything is right there together. You can also create your own tags and add them to records, which would help make searching easier if you use this a lot and it gets really dense with information. And you can attach other documents. For example, maybe you scan an image from an article and you want to keep it together and remember that it's there, so you attach that image directly to the record and everything is together. And then you can add things directly without the connector if you need to. Just choose what type of thing it is, and it will give you a form that you can fill in the appropriate information on your own. You can also add things by using an identifier like the URL or an ISBN. I played around with this a little bit with just ISBNs of books that I had handy at my office. And it tended to come up with the record pretty quickly, so that would be nice. Again, you wouldn't have to do things by hand, but you don't have to look them up and find them. You could just type in the numbers and there you go. You can also add notes to your collection that aren't connected to a specific item. So if you think of something, hey, I want to make sure to do this or include something about this, you can just attach that note to the project instead of specifically to one item or another. And then the beauty happens. When you want to add any given citation to your paper, you highlight the item you want, click the button for Create Citation, and select the style you want. If you've set a default, it's going to start with that, but it allows you to choose another. So if you're doing something for a different class, then you can use their preferred form instead. Then you just copy it to your clipboard and paste it where you need it. The bibliography works much the same way. You highlight all the items you want included and click the Create Bibliography button. Again, you can specify the style you need. It takes a few seconds to build it, and then you can copy and paste that into your working document. So other than referring it to students, what else could we do with this? So really, it is a research tool, but I think it could be useful pulling things together for your library. For example, right now, a lot of you are working on your accreditation renewal, right? So while you are reviewing your policies, you could maybe put together a bunch of sample policies from other libraries so you can compare and say, hey, I think we're going to use a little bit something like this as well. So I created a collection for policies with a couple of sub-collections to keep me organized, one for hotspots and one for meeting rooms. I searched around and added a few examples of each from Iowa libraries. Just as in my earlier research, it pulled in lots of information from the web page, created a brief abstract, and gives me space to create my own notes. I thought, this is perfect. Then I tried to add a PDF. I got a lot of messages from the connector that it needed the Zotero app running on my computer, and of course, I couldn't do that on this computer. I tried to add by identifier and was also stymied. I finally added a couple manually as a website. The results weren't great because I just had to do too much of it by hand, and I didn't want to do that way. So this is not an indictment of using Zotero for different kinds of research. It's just a reflection of the way I was trying to force it to work the way I wanted to work. The web interface is really intended to be secondary. So this would also be a problem for someone trying to use it maybe on a public computer. They may have this installed on their own personal computer, but they're working in the library or something for a while and they want to log in and do this. PDFs and possibly some other formats that I did not try could be problematic. I was able to add PDF images using the app on my iPhone. Once the app is installed, it just gives you another send to option for Zotero when you're saving things. So on the left, you're going to see a list of the meeting room policies, and on the right, the PDF opened with all the available tools visible. And once I had it added with the iPhone, I was then able to open the PDF in my browser and use all the markup tools there as well. So there is a way to work around the issue. It's just something to be aware of if you're not working on your own PC all the time or Mac or whatever. So that's really the basics. It has not changed all that much since I used it forever ago, although the web version and those things are new, and I would have never, same as the mobile version. So they've added more to it, but it basically does one thing and it does it pretty solidly. I think it could be useful for you in the library to put together your own research, but you might have another way of doing that. I think the biggest thing is, again, helping those young college students be prepared for what they're going to be facing as they go off to school. But are there any questions? Any
We haven't had
comments?
any in the chat come through yet. I was going to mention when my previous job was in a research library and
Mm-hmm.
we used it really heavily there. And maybe this would make more sense in a bigger library system, but like I could build a bibliography for one of my researchers and share it with them
Mm-hmm.
in
Okay.
Zotero. So there are some share functions, I think.
I
Um,
believe so too, but I'm sorry I didn't run into any of those while I was.
well, yeah, but like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
in a small library, that's not going to be quite
Right.
as applicable.
Well,
But
again, though, if you are, even the example I used, you're working on your policy
yeah,
things, you could share those to your trustees
for sure. I think
as you're talking.
it's I tend to do things like the policy thing in Trello. That's kind of my go-to, like, all right, here I'm going to make a Trello lane
Mm-hmm.
for hotspot policies and I'll throw links or PDFs or whatever
Mm-hmm.
into that. But like if you didn't like Trello or you wanted something else, or you like Trello just changed its free version if you were out of if you were out of the freemium options. And I think Zotero does have a paid option as well, or maybe it's just for institutions. So I would work with researchers that would want to store, like rather than link to the PDF, they would want to store the whole
Okay.
article in
Sure.
there and we would run out of storage space. And so eventually we got an institution subscription so that you could store like hundreds of gigabytes of PDFs in there, which
Sure.
copyright infringement concerns aside is kind of
Yeah.
nice, but probably not going to have a ton of applicability in a public library. We have a comment here. Would this be a useful tool for researching family history?
Actually,
Have
yeah, you
you?
probably could bring a lot of stuff together and just, again, it's there for helping you organize the stuff and keep so that you know your access to it. Now, those actually in family history, those bibliographies would be of more interest, perhaps. Uh, the ability to create a bibliography. I was thinking in my example with the policy stuff, the citations and things would not necessarily be useful, but
Right.
the ability to save the things, to take notes on the things and have them attached there so that you can come back and find things later, using tags to build relationships between things. Yeah, I think there are a lot of things that it might work for that. Yes.
Yeah, you could start to collect. But the other thing about the bibliography that I can remember even from when I used it in school, and I imagine this is getting better as more stuff is born digitally and more of that metadata is sort of built into some of our web systems than it was 15 or 20 years ago. But for any bibliography, garbage in, garbage out. So
Right.
if you're
That's true.
looking at some old newspaper that's been digitized, if it doesn't have the right metadata associated with it on the website it's hosted on, it's not going to give you a
Right.
great bibliography when you go to
Right.
spit that out. But you can edit all of those fields.
Absolutely. Yes.
So like if you can see a volume number printed on your scan, you could go in and type that in. It might not
Right.
be able to recognize it itself, but
Yeah.
could be
And
helpful.
I was impressed with the amount of data it was actually able to pull from some of the things that I did, including the abstracts on some of those things. Like, wow, that's pretty good. Other things, not as much, but again, it's
Did
working with
you get a sense,
what's.
is it using AI to generate any of those
I
abstracts, or is that
don't
just,
think
is
so.
that
I
a
think it's
field?
pulling
It,
information
okay,
from somewhere, and it depends on who's created the web page, if they've put
sure.
that, if they've built those kinds of things into the background data on the file. And back when I designed websites, I used to know where that stuff was. But anyway,
Right.
um, sometimes that information was there and it knew to look for that. I I think they're probably playing with some AI things,
Yeah.
but not a great deal.
I this is a great example of universal design. Brenda and I were
Yes.
just talking about how there's some new federal rules coming that are going to have implications for public information accessibility, that they need to be much more accessible to tools like screen readers and such. And these kinds of things that we're talking about that help make Zotero more useful for us
Mm-hmm.
are extremely helpful
They're
in
really going to
making,
benefit from that.
yeah, in making screen readers more useful for people that are blind or low
Mm-hmm.
vision or using those kind of tools. So everyone
Absolutely.
benefits when we design for accessibility. That's what the premise of universal design is. And this is
Yeah.
a great example
Mm-hmm.
of that. I love the tags with this too. So that way, if you find something that's applicable across several of
Mm-hmm.
your projects,
Right.
you could pull it up. I think, yeah, you can search for things like authors if you're really getting in depth and you don't know
Mm-hmm.
which folder you put them in. And the notes field too. That's
Yeah.
great to
I
be able
really
to
like those. Yes.
make note of what you thought was helpful about that thing, particularly like in the policy situation. This would never fly in our town, or let's make sure we put this part in
Interesting, but
place.
make sure we don't try to do it this way,
Right,
or this is the only part of this one that I think we can use, or
right.
whatever.
Yeah, that's great. So you said you could put the Chrome extension in, but
Yes,
not the
I had to
desktop
have.
app.
Right, right. And
Yeah,
to some extent, that may have been an option. I'm just, installing much software that isn't already on the approved list doesn't work very well. So I didn't
no.
want to try it, particularly with a brand new laptop. But I did notice that the extension was in the listing there. I was like, oh,
Oh, that's
hey,
nice.
let's give this a whirl. And for the most part, that worked pretty well. Just that in that
Mhm.
first time I tried to add things, it's like, no, you have to have it open too. And it's like, why? It's
Mhm.
on a different computer. But I
That's
opened it
weird.
on the other computer and then it worked. And it's just, okay, this
Huh.
is weird, but we got through it. And being able to use the iPhone or a tablet or something like that would be nice for those oddball things that you need to. Well, and if honestly, if you've got one of those, you're probably not going to be doing this on a library, a public computer somewhere. So it's maybe redundant, but it is at least there's some way to use it without having to be on that one computer then. So
Right.
it's, and maybe they'll eventually catch up on that a little bit more. But it's a nonprofit doing it, and they're not charging except for big institutional customers. So
Right.
there isn't a lot of
Yeah.
money to pay the developers, I guess.
Yeah. This would be a great tool if you're looking to get into a high school for a school visit. Could be a great
Oh,
tool to
sure.
research for a college AP Lit class or something like that, or college comp class. If you need a
Absolutely.
classroom visit, this would be a great tool to bring
I was
to
thinking
show off.
especially because I remember the first time it's like it has to be in a special format. Which format? I've never heard of that one before. The
Yes.
ability to say, "Oh, you like Turabian instead of whatever." Okay, here it is on the list, and it should spit out the right stuff. And the
Yeah.
the editions for those were current. It was the Chicago
Right.
17th edition, etc. So
Yeah. Yeah. Now that's huge. Or even just yeah, if someone needs, I don't remember if they give you the ability to build like an annotated bibliography along with it, but you could at least get that list of all your citations and throw that into
right,
your
yeah, I'm not sure
Word
what its
software of choice.
option is for, say, including notes
Yeah.
in with the bibliography. Since I didn't do a lot with the notes, I don't know if it would then do that because that would allow you to do the annotated bibliography. But I didn't have any notes to copy, so I didn't ask.
Yeah. No, I think it's a cool tool. Fun to see it still around. And it was definitely, yeah, I bet I could pull up an old Zotero account right now and find a bunch of research from grad school. So it's
Yeah,
definitely
I
been
did the
around a
same
while
thing.
and
And yeah, I
has,
used it when I was doing backup reference where I had a bigger
yeah,
thing to work with. So I would use it to pull everything together so I could then send somebody a list of what I had used.
right.
So
No, it's a nice, I like their organizing tools. It's kind of their gig. You
yeah,
can make all those
yeah.
folders and
Hmm.
keep things organized, and then yeah, obviously get a full bibliography that
Yeah,
you need to
and it's
review uh,
absolutely.
for
But
accuracy.
it's an example of a tool. It does one thing, but it does it really well.
Yes,
So
that's really fabulous.
okay,
Well, thanks, Eunice, for this tour. I don't see other
thank
questions
you.
in our chat, but folks know where to find us if you
Absolutely.
have questions or comments. We will take attendance from our meeting today and flip that into Iowa Learns. You'll have access to the evaluation. Hope we can get another one of these under our belt this fall, but fall fills up so fast, like we were talking about at the top of the hour here. So join us again for another Friday Tech Focus down the road. Thanks, Eunice, and everyone have a great weekend.
Okay.